So I wanted to work on a video today, but there's one small problem. See, I wanted to do a cooking thing, and, well, let me just show you the problem here. See, the kitchen is in a bit of a state at the moment, so I have a little bit of work ahead of me. I'm gonna try and prop this camera up so you can watch, and I'll see you in about 20 seconds or so. Okay, I just want to take a second, for those of you with coffee machines, particularly the Keurig things like I've got, make sure you take the tray out and wash it every once in a while. It gets kinda gross. Like, I don't know if you can see it in there, but it's all not quite moldy, but it's well on its way to unsanitary, so just, it's dishwasher safe, stick it in the dishwasher. Alright, so, as you can see, kitchen's got definitely a lot cleaner than it was before. So the next step is to go and actually print out the recipe and get everything ready. So today's recipe is from food.com, and we're going to be trying to make some sweet cornbread. Got the recipe printed off here, and let's get started. Alright, so in order, we're going to need cornmeal, flour, sugar, baking powder. The recipe calls for salt, but I'm going to be trying to cook this without it just because I don't have any salt and I don't feel like going to the shopping market right now. You also need oil, butter that we're going to melt in the microwave. The recipe again calls for honey. I don't happen to have any, so I'm going to be using this pancake waffle syrup. We have eggs. And, of course, everyone's favorite, milk. We're also going to need a few utensils. So we're going to need a variety of measuring cups, measuring spoons, standard garden variety fork, a little bowl, a big bowl, and a pan that is slightly too large for what I need it for. Shall we get started? So in our big bowl, we're going to mix together all the dry ingredients. We're going to start with half a cup of cornmeal. Try and make sure everything doesn't go flying there. Now this isn't baking per se, this is more cooking, so portions are not as precise as they'd have to be if we were making cake or anything like that. Next up, we need 1 1/2 cups of flour. So this is a half cup measure. We're going to use 3 of these. It's kind of roughly leveled there. Before I forget, I'm actually going to take this over here, and we are going to make an ungodly loud noise, and we are going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. Now, back to important stuff. So we've added our 1.5 cups of flour. Now, we need to get a different measuring cup and add 2/3 of a cup of sugar. This is a 1/3 measure. So, those of you who are good at math, predict how many 1/3 things we need to make 2/3. And of course, if it took you longer than this to figure it out, you really need to go back to school. So 2/3 sugar, and 1 tablespoon? Yes, 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Always make sure to check the difference between tablespoon and teaspoon. Doesn't sound like it's a big difference, but, well, it really is. Trust me on this one. 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Not baking soda, baking powder. There are other ingredients in here. Like cornstarch and monocalcium phosphate, which I can only assume some sort of preservative. I have no idea. So, take this thing and an extra ingredient that I didn't list in the original. You put your salt in now, and you need a wooden spoon to mix this all up. So let's start mixing. Try not to get your stuff everywhere. You know what, I'm going to set this down. It doesn't look quite as good in camera, but I'm going to make a bit less of a mess if I do it this way. Okay, and when you're done, you end up with this kinda yellowish sort of powder. Looks kind of like a little bit of a shiny flour that's gone a little bit yellow on you. So next up, we need to do our liquid ingredients. And we're going to do this in a somewhat specific order. So the oil and butter that I'm using are actually still solid. So coconut oil, for those of you not familiar, actually comes as a solid. So we need 1/3 a cup of oil. So that's actually quite a bit. We're going to use our 1/3 cup measure here. Just kind of scrape out our coconut oil. And as I said, it kind of comes out as this whitish, oily, waxy looking sort of stuff. We're going to melt that. And to save time, we're going to melt it at the same time we melt our butters. 3 tablespoons of melted butter. In our bowl from earlier, I wash my hands, so I can just stick my finger right in there and kind of scrape our oil out. Yeah. It's another one you want to wash your hands afterwards as well, because it gets kind of gross if you go and touch stuff after this. And we're going to take our butter or margarine, your choice really, and we need 3 tablespoons of it. We're supposed to measure it after it's melted, but we're not all sciencey like that. So let's level that off a bit. 2 tablespoons. So 1 more coming. There we go. That's 3-ish tablespoons of unmelted margarine. I'm going to wash my hand, specifically this finger, and we're going to take our lovely globby mess and melt it in the microwave. Alright, so put that in there. And you know what? We're actually going to get a spoon here. Regular, everyday spoon, nothing special. We're going to kind of flatten this out a little bit. That way it'll melt a little bit evener, more even. Another thing to remember, always wash out your microwave so you don't get stuff like that. Now, I don't have a set time for this, so I'm just going to set it for a minute. We're going to record it and make sure it doesn't boil over. Alright, so we get a little bit of popping in there, so we stop it and we go take a look. It's already partially melted. Just break up the bigger pieces there. Coconut oil actually melts at a very similar temperature to margarine, and they're both oil-based, so they mix together quite nicely. Let's continue. Oh, big pop like that means a good time to go check. And you know what? That looks pretty darn close. Be careful and take the bowl out. Yours might be hot. Your time will vary depending on your microwave, of course. So we're going to take this and we're going to add it to our mixture here. Lovely. Now, give me a second. I'm just going to go park the phone, or camera, pardon me, back on its stand and we can continue. Okay, so that was the oil and melted butter. Next up, we have not honey, but maple syrup. Or, actually I think this is butter flavored syrup, so we're going to see how this works. And we need 1 tablespoon of this stuff. Now, our tablespoon's still got kind of buttery sort of residue on it. That's okay. We really don't mind. So, put this over here. We'll just kind of get a tablespoon-ish. So I'm guessing this is going to act a little bit like a thickening agent, a little bit like a sweetener. Probably not going to be much sweeter than the honey, or the sugar that's already in there. Now we set that aside. We're going to add our milk next, and we're going to save our eggs for last. So we need 1 1/4 cups of milk. Did I get a 1/4 cup measure out? I did not. Fortunately, you have one here, a 1/4 cup measure. So, since we don't want to make more mess than we have to, we're going to use our 1/2 cup measure twice. So that's 1/2 cup. That's 1 cup. A professional would have poured towards the camera, but hey, I know what you're working with. So that's 1 cup and 1/4 cup. Now that we're done with those ingredients, we're just going to put them in the fridge. And we're going to get to the most fun part so far. We're going to use this other bowl. We're going to crack some eggs. We need 2 eggs. This is where the fork comes in. So we've got 1 egg. 2 eggs. Now be careful when you do the one-handed trick like that. It's really easy to get shells in your eggs, and that is not a good thing. Wipe the egg off my fingers. Take our fork and beat the snot out of these things. It's going to be interesting because raw eggs are made of nothing but snot. And there we go, that'll do. And just to make things a little easier to combine, I'm actually going to mix our big bowl here. I have to do this one-handed so you can actually see what's going on. So this is our mess so far, not very combined. And we're just gonna mix this sucker so it's nice and combined. And that way when we add the eggs, we're adding them to a liquid rather than to, well, I'm not entirely sure what adjective to use about this. So we're going to pause for a second while I reposition the camera, and you get to watch me mix for a little bit. Okay, so that's looking pretty well combined there. So our next step is going to be to go get our pan. Get that set. And we want to take some of our leftover butter. I know I put it in the fridge, so I'm just going to go grab that. We're going to take some of our leftover butter and our lovely washed hands. Take just a little tiny bit, and we're going to grease our pan. If you have Pam baking spray or other brands are available, feel free to use that. At some point, I'm probably going to try using different oils for this, see if it makes a major difference. But for now, margarine will do. Make sure you get the sides as well. The bottom is the most important, of course, because it's got the most surface area, but our cornbread is going to go up the sides. Alright. Now, we're actually going to take another piece of equipment. A spatula. Now we scrape the excess off our spoon, because we don't need a spoon anymore. Stick that in the sink for washing later. And add our batter to the pan. Lovely. This thing is very heavy and hard to do at an angle, so we're going to do this as quickly as we can. Just sort of scrape the excess out like so. Okay, looks like the camera reset there. Maximum recording time reached. So we have this in our pan, and we're just going to kind of help it out a little bit. It is more or less a liquid, so it will settle eventually, but I really want some cornbread. So we're going to speed it up just by flattening like that. Now, some people like putting cornbread or cornmeal or flour on top at this point. I don't. I find that it just sort of sinks in and gets lost anyway, so there's really no point in doing it. Our final step is to put this in the oven. We're going to do that right now. Okay, so if you're doing this on your own, I would heavily advise you to not do it one-handed. But, you know, for my beloved viewers, I risk life and limb. So you take your cornbread, put it in the oven, close the door, and you cook this for 35 minutes. And there you go. I'll see you in 35 minutes. Oh, well, if you're going to do a time lapse in your video, I really suggest that you wash the window in your oven first. It looks like I had something explode against the inside of the glass there, and well, once the oven cools down, I guess I know what I'm cleaning. So, as I said earlier, I found this recipe on food.com. I just looked up sweet cornbread, and this is what I found. And it turns out that this recipe is actually from another website called stefskitchen.com, and apparently it's wonderful. I haven't tried it before, but I will probably check out Steph's Kitchen, and I will let everyone know there how this tasted. Alright, so our timer just finished. Turn that off. Give ourselves a nice clean surface to work with here. Now, sure, we're in one of these things, because otherwise, you're gonna have a really interesting time. Open up the oven. Oh, whoa, a little bit foggy there. Now, I'm going to put the phone down, because I need both hands for this one. Alright. Now, let's take a look at what we got. I'm going to take this knife, give it a stab right in the thickest part there. The knife comes away nice and clean, so we know that we have one finished cornbread. We're going to let this rest a little bit so I don't burn my mouth when I taste it, and we'll be back in just a few. Okay, our cornbread has cooled enough that I'm going to risk taking a bite of it. So let's just cut. Let's go with a little tiny corner piece. And oh, look at how soft that is. Just pops right out and promptly explodes. Okay, so looks like I didn't quite grease the bottom well enough. It's a little sticky. This is still a little soft because it's so fresh. But let's take a bite. So, take a mouthful here. Okay, well, it's definitely cornbread. It's a lot better than the other recipes I've done because it does have a little bit of that sweetness in there, but not a ton. So if you're expecting a dessert, you're not going to get a dessert. But this would go really well with something that has a lot of its own sauce, like ribs or something like that. We can put the gravy or the sauce over top of it, and the sweetness and kind of the corniness sort of adds to the extra there. So I'm going to finish my cornbread here. Hopefully you liked the video. I'm probably going to try and make at least, I don't really want to say how many more of these things. I'm going to try for one a week. But if you like it, please let me know in the comments. And I'll see you around.